Welcome everybody to the channel. Here at Stranger Fruit, we provide Black and minority medical professionals the space to share fruits of wisdom, knowledge, and vulnerability, hoping these seeds help you grow in your life and the lives of those around you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning for more fruit, I'm glad we could provide something meaningful to come back to. Today's episode is centered around the word determination. And if you've been following along this season, you'll know we've been unpacking what it means to grow with consistency, with grit, and now with determination. Determination is one of those words that we hear all the time on posters and locker rooms and speeches, but what does it really mean to live a life shaped by this? By definition, determination is firmness of purpose, the resolve to keep going when things get hard, unclear, or uncomfortable. But there's another definition that I find fascinating. Determination is also the process of establishing something exactly, often by calculation or careful research. But how many of us spend time trying to calculate, measure, and predict exactly where life should go? And yet, life rarely follows the formula. So the question becomes, how do we hold on to our purpose, our determination, even when the outcome looks nothing like we planned? So to help us explore this, I'm joined by somebody whose journey has been anything but linear. He's a fourth-year med student, creative thinker, and someone I deeply admire for his ability to stay grounded and focused. And above all else, this is my brother, a regular on the show, here to take one last dance. Welcome to the show, student Doctor Oyinemi, Iyebote.
Man, thank you, man. It's good to be on the show. It's good to be on the show again.
Another one.
Another one per DJ.
Yeah. So, man, I felt like, this topic was like a big highlight, just kind of a huge, defining part of what has been, your journey in just these last couple of months. Yeah. And I don't know how much you're willing to share about kind of that and where and how that brings you here and what determination means to you. And just,
Yeah, so
this is one of the most determined people I know, y'all. I'm just telling you, right?
I mean, what I've been dealing with over the past couple of months and everything, and even and for the audience that don't know, so I am a medical student in my last year of medical school, but unlike other people, I've taken the Scenic route. For most medical students, it takes them about 4 years to get through medical school. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately, contingent on perspective, I've learned a lot through it, and we'll get to the topic of determination. But I've had bumps along the way that have propagated and extended my medical school career. And I think, like you said, this topic lends itself perfectly to from my experience to this topic. And determination, man, I feel like sometimes when we talk about determination, we look at people and we think of like willpower, and we think of these resolute individuals that are amazingly like mentally fortified and tough, and we throw words like grit out there, which like reinforces these concepts of like how special the individual is, right? And I feel like I am a determined person, but I don't think I would say I'm like the grittiest human being in the world. I don't feel like I have, I'm as tough as other people or mentally reinforced as other people. I think it's so much more multifactorial. There's so many other variables that come into play. I think the first and most important thing is purpose. If you're just whimsically going through a journey, any roadblock, any obstacle could trip you up. But when there's purpose behind it, and like you genuinely know what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. Where you're going is where you're supposed to be going. And if you feel like God has put that on your heart, or if you just have created this curiosity for whatever it is that you're undertaking, right? I think that's the first and most important thing, right? Purpose. What is your why? Why are you doing what it is that you're doing, right? Because anything that is meaningful and anything that is that you desire to capture will be tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it will not be easy, right? And then vision. So from purpose to vision, right? Like now you have to be purposeful in your meditation and visualization of what is to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to see it, right? So purpose, vision. Have you curated all these ideas of where you're going and why it is that you're going this direction, and how you see your life, and what this accomplishment is going to add to you and the value that now you can give to the world, right? Those are the things that like you can maybe establish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other things is just the other variables that incubate your determination and the purpose and the vision. And for me, like, you know, I got you, right? I got a great friend that believes in me. I have the best family that is the most supportive of me in the times, and as determined as you can be, and as gritty and as tough as you can be. Sometimes you lose sight of even your vision, and the outcome that you desire. And sometimes in those moments, you lose belief. And what are you going to do in those moments, right? If it's all up to you, sometimes, and that's why some people quit along the way. And sometimes they don't have the reinforcing parts of their lives, the reinforcing support, you know, infrastructure in their lives to put into them when they're empty, right? So like, just in my situation, for maybe people that don't know, there are licensing exams for medical students that you have to take. And there's 3 of them, step 1, step 2, and step 3. To graduate from medical school, you have to take step 1 and step 2, right? I took step 1 a couple years back ago, and then I took step 2 and I failed it, right? And I failed it by like that much, right? And I had to come back, you know, and do it all over again, right? I know in my heart of heart, this is where I'm supposed to be. I know in my heart of heart, God put me here to become a doctor for a purpose and for a reason, and I believe this from the jump. Like I just unequivocally know, like, this is where my path lies, right? But in those moments, immediately after failing, as determined and resolute as crystallized as this vision was, it was bleak. It was dark. I didn't believe in myself. I thought I was like, I was having thoughts of like, what if, and maybe not, and maybe I should have did this, and what if I just, you know, was a UPS guy? Shout out to all the UPS men in the world and women, big ups to you. But I'm just saying, like, it would have been easier. Maybe we might have to cut that out.
I'm leaving it.
No, but you know, it's like, and again, no shade, right? But like, literally, these are the thoughts. Like, literally, these are the thoughts that's happening, like, you know, in my head. And it was my family that, like, put the image back in front of my face, right? Like, this is what you visioned.
Right.
This is the path that you undertook for a reason. This is why, and they're reinforcing and telling me again, and that's putting life back into me. Right? There was a couple of week periods, like a couple of weeks, where I was flat, like a soda that had been left open for a month.
No, that's real.
You feel me? Like flat, like if you saw me, you would visually see it, right? And then on the inside, right? But I can now in reflection go back like, oh, I was great. You know, I have grit, and I'm tough, and I did that, and I pulled myself up. Right. If you want to lose the context, but the context was I was flat and I was defeated, and there was no determination in me. I quit on the inside, but I had that system that would not let me quit. That was like, get up. Wow. And it wasn't, you know, sometimes it was gentle, and sometimes it was, maybe, using like the baby gloves proverbially to like get me up. And sometimes it was just like, no, you gotta get up. Like, I'm not being soft with you. Right. It's ironic. So I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. my sisters act like my dad, and my brothers act like my mom. My mom is very gentle, caring, thoughtful, kind. My dad is very abrasive. So when I interact with my sisters, it's like, get up.
Right.
Like, I don't care how you feel. Who cares? Life is hard.
Right. No, that's real.
And then I get and that's why I'm saying I'm blessed. So sometimes you do need a kick in the pants, but sometimes you do need to be handled a little bit more gently. And I got both, got the best of both worlds, right? And it's just like they lit that fire that like I thought I was like letting burn on my own, and was burning because of my own capabilities and my own belief, but it turned off, and it was them and their passion and their desire, their love for me that lit that back up. They allowed me to get up and be like, this is what I want to do. God did put this in my heart. This would be selfish if I quit right now. There's something I have to do. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is I'm going to interact with. I don't know if it's a career and a lifelong career of helping people, or if it's just a moment and a time with a person, and maybe transforming an outlook to give somebody the desire to continue to push on in life for themselves as well, and that'd be just as worth. It'll be worth it just as much to do that for that moment, or to have a career of helping a whole bunch of people, right? But that's what God called me to do, right? So this isn't about me at this point. Like, this isn't about what I want, and it's not about how I feel. It's not about if I feel passionate, if I feel motivated, and none of that. It's because it's what God has called me to do, and that was it, man. And we've talked off camera, and what's been going on, man. Like, I've never in my life felt more grateful. You know what I mean? Like, when you are defeated, and people, because life is hard, so everybody else got their own things, and everybody else got their own battles, and everybody else is mulling and chewing on their life prospects, and if life is going their way or not their way, and battling whatever it is that they're battling. So for people to like have all of that going on, and then see me and be like, I'm still worth their time, and to take away from their problems and to help me with my problem, and to get me back here, so now I can be on this podcast and like, I'm determined. I'm that guy, you know what I mean? I did it, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't give up, you know what I mean? Like, I'm special, you know what I mean? I'm built, I'm none of those things. I'm a regular dude. Nothing special about me, but I'm blessed, and the only thing that's special is that God has blessed me with just amazing people to like be here. You know what I mean? So I know that's a roundabout way of saying it, but I'm just in a space and in a spirit to like there's no credence in myself, right? Like, everything around me has been put up and set up for me to succeed, and I am not going to pretend that I did something that was unique,
Yeah. I mean, I think, and that's one of the reasons why I had to make sure you were on this episode on this specific topic, because you would give a real answer. It's like there's a lot of people where it's like, oh, well, like, you gotta have that determination. You gotta be like that boy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in reality, like, it's not as black and white as the words on the page. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, to me, I'm glad you mentioned this thing where it was like, I don't know what is driving me forward, but I have to drive forward. I have to go towards this thing. Yeah. And I think because of that, like, one of the things that I'm reading is like Atomic Habits. I'm still reading it. I'm the slowest reader in the world. I don't brought up Atomic Habits like every time we've been on the episode.
On to the next chapter, like a week later.
And so it's this part I'm on where it's like every habit creates like a new break in reality, and this new alternative thing. And it's like almost is like, okay, you going towards this goal creates about a reality that allows us to exist in this space right now. So it's reciprocal. It's a reciprocal to me. It's a reciprocal relationship that you have towards other people that then they're able to pour back into you, right? Because in reality, it's like, okay, like no matter how soft your brothers were towards you, or no matter how hard your sisters were towards you, you still had to get up and respond to said stimuli or said relationship and go out and do the work, right? And so it's like one of those things where I think, to me, a lot of this, and it was kind of like talking a little bit before it, and I'm like, I feel like I look to our conversations for like insight. And it was one of those things where it brought me that, because I'm sitting here like some things I just don't want to do, some things I don't want to, like, I don't want to be in this place right now or doing this thing right now, but there's something that's pushing me and driving me to forward. Like I'm not gonna give up on this, but I'm just gonna feel whatever I feel, even though whatever I feel feels like I want to feel something different. Like there's emotions want to push us to from one place to another. And I think they're like, the emotions are devoid of logic by default, right? And I think, though, that inner self, right, that you mentioned, which is, there is this force within us that kind of drives us to these things, and by default every motion forward kind of breaks about a reality that now exists and ones that can't exist anymore. And so it's like those, then, like, it's interesting because when you say like, oh, like these people that are around me, but it's like, because you put in the work and you are who you are, these people can be who they are to you. And so we're almost a reflection of you. And like, it's kind of like, I don't know if that's like really kind of like too existential.
Abstract.
Yeah, abstract.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get
abstract. But like in my mind, because I'm trying to like, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. But in my head, I'm like we're all like these like life. I was just talking to Brie about this, like all of us. We were talking about, I guess, our relationship, and she was saying like all of us, you know, we have to look at our relationship objectively. I was like, is that even possible? Because like, you see the world through your own experience and your own lens of reality. Like, and I see my life through this lens of reality. And so is anything that we glean from this life like objective, except for like these certain things that exist, right? Like, and even that, right? Like even things that we think are objective and are absolute, right? Like, we see them sometimes crumble when we get too close to them. Like, for example, you take a step 2, like you coming into medical school. It's like, I got into medical school, so obviously the next step is to pass step 1, step 2, step 3, and be on with my life. Right? Like, for me, like, I failed step 1, right? Like, I got to medical school. I'm like, everybody was telling me that medical school, getting in is the hard part.
You know what's crazy? I'm gonna let you know. That's what everybody told me. So when I got into medical school, I was like, I've arrived. Right. And then that is not the truth. Right. Like, getting to medical school is extremely difficult. It gets harder.
Right. And so it's like it's like this one thing that I saw. It was we were talking and I found this quote. It was me and Brie and I, we were talking, and I found this quote. It was a Buddhist quote, and it says like, the things you lose are the things you cling to, right? And it's the things like that. It's these realities that we create of ourselves that like we believe to be absolute. Like, oh, I'm going to get through residency and there'll be no hiccups. Like, I'm here now, I've arrived. Or like, even from the contrast, right? And I think it's like, oh, like, this is going to suck. This is going to be crazy. Like, we cling on to that. And sometimes that can be the thing that, like, that is the reason why it's bad, is because we kind of preface it with that. But like, I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? Like, that idea that I guess we are I don't know how to ask the question, but I guess just anything that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on any of that?
Those are things that I'm actually wrestling with at this very moment. Right. The idea of arrival. Like, it's such a fleeting idea, right? And then and because it's fleeting, it ends up leaving you empty, right? Because once you once you arrive at a particular place, right, and especially if you give it so much value, like, oh, once I arrive here, I will be X, Y, Z.
Right.
I'll be happy. I'll be content. There'll be more joy in your life. Like, you get there, and every time anybody gets to their place of arrival, it's this confusing place because you arrive and you work so hard to get there, but it's not enough. Right? Now you're confused. Now you have this almost mini depression because you're confused about why you don't feel complete, because you arrived at the destination. You got there. You worked so hard. You did everything. You took the steps. You were disciplined. You gave up certain things. You added certain things. You did all these things, and you got there. And you get there, and every time it's the same thing. It's a transient moment of joy and bliss and excitement, and then your mind asks you, "What's next?" And it's like, bro,
right? Can I just be happy right now? And that's that whole, you've ever heard of like the hedonic treadmill or whatever?
No, I've never heard
It's
of
like this idea that like we get to a mountaintop and we want to scale the next mountaintop. And we want to scale the next mountaintop. But in reality, it's like we're on a treadmill. We're not going anywhere, but we're getting to the same destination every time. Or at least that's my philosophy of it.
Interpretation of it.
Yeah, and so like I think this is just a beautiful segue into like the next part, which is it's this idea of the way that different cultures view the idea of determination. And it's like not always loud and aggressive. It can be quiet. And in Japanese cultures, there's this word called gambaru. I don't know if that's right. Sorry if I butchered that. But that means to do your best and persist, even without promise of reward, right? And so when I hear that word, I'm initially like met with this boost of motivation. I'm like, oh yeah, man, you talking about I can do it without a reward? Like gambaru, that sounds kind of dope. But then when the dust settles of that, I think it brings about that internal dysfunction, because I'm like, on one hand, I believe this like external doesn't really define me, but then if I do all this work, I should be able to get something out of it, right? And so like, it's like, if you weren't going to find fulfillment after all this medical training, then will we still do it? And if like, it's almost like this spiritual conundrum where I sometimes find myself, it's like, if God never promised us like eternal life in heaven, will we still practice Christianity? It's like all these things that I think about, and I'm like, my default is to say yeah, but like, how do I know? Because there are these external motivating factors. There's these carrots in our life
that keep us going.
And
that's why, I in theory, I like that quote. Right. In theory, because I think it strips you of like that materialistic, like factor of like, I'm chasing this for a reason, because there's exchange, right? I'm putting the time, effort, discipline, and I get this, right? I think in our most actualized state of mind, maybe that is like a good thing, because we can just do it because of our freedom of curiosity. I don't think everybody functions that way. I think even just with the best of us, I think intermittently we need a boost and a reminder of where it is that we're going and what it is that we're doing, right? Each exam that you take and you pass is like a reward to you, right? I'm going in the right direction. I have proved competency in this, right? It gives you the enthusiasm to be like, okay, if I keep on doing this, I'll continue to gain this level of mastery. So like, that's just my idea. Like in theory, I love that quote, but then in like practicality, like, is it actually like sufficient? Like, are you able to be sustained just on pure altruism? Right.
And that's the question, because it's like these conversations that we have, I think is like, it's one of those things where maybe it's not this external altruism, but like knowing that given the past things that we've done, right, has brought us into the space and existence with other people that we would have never even thought of, and we're having conversations and connecting, and then are able to like have conversations with other people and connect to other people. And maybe that's what it's all about, you know, because we went through all these things. I can like tell the guy. I remember the guy you talked about at the gym. Like he was like, you know, the dental student, right? Yeah. And you know, because you went through these things, it's like I can tell you because I'm just blowing smoke. I'm like, because I did it. Yeah. And it's like maybe that's what it's about, but maybe like you said, we do need that like hit of, you know, like that reward pathway has to kind of crank up sometime. Yeah.
But like, and maybe I hope I'm not going too far.
No, you're not.
But
man, it's the last dance. You can do whatever you want to say, whatever you want to say.
Like, you know, I've had a lot of free time over the past couple of weeks, and that's what I've been trying to figure out. Is that's where I'm at. It's like I felt like I hit the mountaintop, but now I'm like, what's next, right? And then I got frustrated with myself because like, bro, it can't always be what's next. Like there has to be at some point a level of contentment. And it's not to say to be content and to be still, but just to be, for it just to be okay, even though you know the journey still lies ahead of you, right? And for me, some of the things I think I've come into reflection, and you can just, you know, parry off of that and see what you're thinking about, is like, I feel like for me personally over the past couple of years, I've been gluttonous, right? Where it's been about me, you know? And this is obviously like in a spiritual context, right? You know, I try to stay in shape. I mean, I'm not out
bicep just taking up the whole screen.
No, but like I feel like I've been spiritually gluttonous, right? And that's where I've been in reflection lately. And I'm like, I need to find a way to get out of this, right? Because I feel empty in that, right? And it's like I have to find a way to be able to extend myself to the world and not anticipate and expect the world to extend itself towards me. And I've been blessed that I've had a family and I've had friends and I've had people that continually extend themselves and help me and provide resources. But I'm like, at this point in my life, like I have to find a way to like give back, to pay it forward, to be a helping hand, to extend my arms back, to carry somebody up. And I'm not saying this to you or to the audience as the remedy to maybe that potential lack of contentment or that emptiness and achievement. It's more so curiosity and just more so just inquisition internally with myself, because I'm like, you know, there has to be a way for this to feel better, longer, and feel more enriching. And I just like, just taking all the time there's an emptiness in that. There at some point, you know, as a glutton, if you just consume everything, you're just gonna be stuffed, and you're just gonna be like, you're gonna feel sick, right? Like you know, and that's where I feel like sometimes maybe that feeling comes from, is that like the emptiness comes from a feeling of like feeling sick because all you've been doing is consuming, all you've been doing is taking. And it's like maybe they're in this paradox, right? That there might be more fulfillment in like letting go and being there for other people and doing things for other people and sacrificing your time, right? And that's where I'm at least. And I'm just talking this with you just to see where you're at and what you think about it, because it's not like I'm not here as like some, you know, actualized human being that knows everything. We're just discussing as two friends and colleagues. But that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like, because like I'm just like, I feel like a spiritual glutton, and I'm sick. And I can sit here and just continue to do what I'm doing and continue to feel sick and just push through it, or I can pivot and do something and be like, all right, there's this big old world. If other people have found time to pour into me, I have to be able to do the same in the other way. And maybe that's the cycle. You know, somebody pours into you, you pour into somebody else, they pour into that person, they pour into you, and maybe we feel more fulfillment all together collectively. I don't know. You know?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that like in spite of what the outside perception may be of, you know, us in this place versus, you know, you passing your boards, like when if you were to post on Instagram, everybody's like congrats, and you know, people will like, you know, see that from a lens of like, oh, he's a doctor now, he basically like he made it, like, you know, whatever. And then even from my end, like I just posted my grad pictures,
which is, by the way, like,
oh, thank you my boy.
I hope you saw that light.
Yeah.
Clean, my boy, clean. Skincare routine,
hey
popping,
man,
guys.
you know,
Boy, clean.
Yeah, man. Shout out to JCPenney. But no, like it's kind of crazy because like in those moments, like I feel like you like, even though there's this like external like image of like this, it's not even a portrayal, but it's like truly in a space of like I want to be able to share this moment with people and hope to like motivate them, push them, whatever. But in my mind, I'm like there's something missing, like a space of, and how I tell Bree is like I think I'm missing this space of like wonder, a space of like of like childlike like joy, like that I haven't felt in a long time, and it's like I find myself trying to and it's almost kind of like what you were saying, like almost like a gluttonous kind of behavior where it's like a spiritual glutton, in a sense where it's like there's almost these like opposing forces, right? Like on one end you feel like you want to move towards a goal of external outreach and external like growth and joy. Like who's to say like when we leave here, let's just go to the soup kitchen and like volunteer, let me sign up to be a substitute teacher working on the side, but then there's this other force of like, man, honestly, like I mean, I'd rather watch that show at home, or I'd rather, you know, like it's easier for me to just like go home and chill. Like I done did what I needed to do to get to where I got to, and whatever insert whatever feeling here that stops you from doing that motion to maybe potentially feel what you're looking for. And it's like, how do we exert enough force on that end to overcome said you know, fear, envy, pain, whatever, to reach that side of it. And it's like, I think it's just like saying, okay, like I wanna do this thing, let me just put it on my calendar and I'm going to do it when it comes. You know, like if you know you want to sub teach sixth graders as a substitute teacher or whatever, that's like a way to pour in, you know, like you know, or something like that is like out of your comfort zone, that is like devoid of this space, right? Because I think like we're so much in it, sometimes like us taking a step out of it allows us to get more information on what we're trying to see. And I don't really know if that like answers anything, but like in my mind, I think a lot of it stems from like being uncomfortable to being like your willpower to overcome, like to reach that side of the place that you're trying to get to is blocked by these fears or these worries or these like if I did that, like people go on whatever, or if I did that, I would feel like I think I would feel, or trying to like predict how you would feel, instead of like there's this something within me that is like lacking, and even if what is on the other side doesn't help me find it, I was able to take a step to try to look for it. And I think that like we can take a lot of like solace in that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do think there's a lot of truth in that, you know, the other side of the things that of your pursuits, there's a lot to be learned from, right? And there's a lot to actually gain from taking that step. But and that's why like the irony, however, whatever you want to say, is that to get to the other side, you have to overcome the things that plague you, right? So you know, it's not easy. So it's not just like this easy thing, right? Because it's so easy to say. It's such an easy thing.
Like, let's go skydiving. You know what I'm saying?
But if you have like crippling anxiety about like flight, like that's not an easy reality to reconcile, right? So it's like usually the amazing things that we can accomplish that are going to feed our spirits and feed other people's spirits, or like the things that impede us or preclude us from getting to that, are deep insecurities that we have fought over our entire lives, right? So if it's whatever your insecurity is, right? Like, so that's not like an easy thing to overcome.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to just to step over. I think in our society with social media, I think we hear all these gurus talking about all these things, and it's like the other side of fear is courage. Yes, that's okay,
right.
but you still have to deal with fear,
Right?
like you act like fear is just a little thing. Like if it was a little thing, it wouldn't be fear,
Right? And it's like, yeah, like in my mind, it's like the fear is only the things. It's like, you know, the fears of childhood are the things that was in the closet, but it's like now it's like these things that are almost like abstract.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
And it's like they kind of evolve and shift and change with you.
Yeah.
And it's like fear is one of those things. It's very hard to it's one of those things where when I look into myself, I find a lot of or fear, tension, whatever, like those and maybe those aren't the same thing, but I think it like this kind of conversation like allows me to, or this part of the conversation allows me to transition to this part of me where I find myself doing like this practice that I think kind of aligns with this, and let me know if I'm going completely off track. So like sometimes, a lot of times, like especially in this recent time, which I think could be precipitated by a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of like why is it that every time I transition from one phase of my life to the next that I have to leave everything behind, and that creates like a tension within myself, and it's like this pressure, right? But then when I focus on the pressure, it dissipates, it goes away, and I'm like, but I want to hold on to it to figure out what it is, but by the time I try to reach it, it's gone. And so like I really don't know like how to like what like am I being too like I don't know if I'm introspecting like enough to like, you know, I don't know if you ever had that feeling where it's like you're tense, or you have this tight feeling or whatever, or however you feel within your body that kind of lets you know that something is like different and wrong. And when you like look at it, I don't know, I'm curious to what you do or how that feels to you when you actually introspect that way and look at yourself in that way.
I think I know what you're talking about, and for me it's not really like we internalize whatever that feeling is. So it's hard to like pinpoint exactly what the feeling is, but it's a feeling that creates discomfort and ambiguity and fear, you know. And I for me too, like every time I enter into a new season of life, I have that feeling, right? And like I know exactly how that feeling is. Like I'm so conscious of myself in those moments that like anytime I experience it, I'm like, not like it's easy to know I'm in a new space or new environment, but that feeling lets me know, like internally, externally, whatever facets of my being exists, like this is a new season. But like, you know, but again, that's transient. It kind of lasts for however it's gonna last, and I think that feeling is a lie. Like it's not a lie, and it's real, right? But it's a lie because I think it's trying to tell you that you don't belong in wherever you're at. It's this maybe primitive thing that maybe has been hardwired to tell us to step away, to go away, to go backwards, right? To not, you know, enter into this experience and you know, and you might fail and it might not be good and it might be this, but like for me, like I've come to realize that feeling, though it exists and it's real, it's a lie because it's trying to draw me backwards. It's not trying to like allow me to just freely jump into this new experience and all the things that you've learned and garnered and achieved, right? Like I know when I started undergrad, you know, I had that feeling. I started my master's, I just got into med school, right? And if I gave that feeling credence and I empowered it and emboldened it, I would never be here, right? So it's like it comes, but I think it's this transient feeling that I've just learned to like ignore because it actually tells me I'm going in the right direction, right? So now it's an indication for me to march forward, right? So instead of believing in it, it's like, oh, you don't want me to go, but look at all these prior experiences and all that I've gained, and the experiences and the lives and the relationships that I've been able to have. Oh, this is perfect. This means go forward.
And that's beautiful because it allows you to reflect on, and that, I think that's the highlight of, like, I guess one of the highlights of what I'm taking from this is because I sometimes don't find myself checking back in and doing a mental inventory of the things that I've been able to be a part of, like, not just create, because I think creation is more than just, I was able to exist in this realm of reality with these people in my life and have these moments. And like those feelings trigger that for you. And I think that's beautiful because a lot of us, I think, kind of are like, well, like, maybe this is telling me this is the wrong way to go or something like that. And I think that in of itself creates almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because you like, it's almost like you go into work every day and you say you're gonna have a terrible day at work. This food is gonna be trash. I be telling my girl this all the time. Don't say it's gonna be bad before you even tried it. It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad. You set your mind
right. And so it's like, but it's like, no, like, my brain is trying to tell me something that, and it's almost like a great, because we're all delusional in some sense or another, but like, I think that's one of the most healthy delusions you can have in your life, is because it's like, I know that when I'm going up this roller coaster of life, and I'm getting to the top, and I'm like, I'm really high up now, and I'm about to like come down, but I'm like, I know that this was because this view is like everything that I was wanting to have, and like, I'm about to have a good time coming down this ramp and going around this bank.
Well, you're like, going up that, you know, with the road, it'll be slow. Right. You get that feeling, right. You're like, oh my God. But then by the end of it, you out here, right? Time of your life, right? And that's what I'm saying for me. Like, I remember, like, just and new experiences, especially like academic experiences or experiences that would challenge my intellect. Like, I've always had this insecurity about my level of intelligence, and if I belong in like academic settings and with other highly intelligent human beings, right? And every time I get in those situations, it's just like I literally feel it in my gut. Right? Like, I feel it. But like, I've had so many amazing experiences. Like, if I had at any point listen to that, right? Any point, like, just succumb to that feeling of like not belonging, like, I would, like, what would all the things I would have missed out on, I'd be so disappointed. Like, especially like now that I'm here, like, in reflection, I'm like, bro, you wouldn't have met this person, you wouldn't have had this outcome, you wouldn't have this experience, bro. Like, so I think, especially with you, like, you're entering into a new season in your life where now you're pivoting from a medical student doctor to actual doctor, right? Now you have all these responsibilities that come on your plate, and all these things, and people are going to be coming from you from left to right, and you're expected to be the expert in everything, and that is a challenge. Right now, there's going to be, yes, you're going to be working under somebody else's license, but there's a level of independence that you have as a resident. That is nerve-wracking. That is terrifying. Right. Yeah, I mean, like, there are going to be times where you're going to have these moments, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I putting my patients at risk? But all of that is purposeful, right? All of that is purposeful because it drives you. It pushes you. It says, I don't have the luxury to be complacent. I don't have the luxury to stand still. I don't have the luxury to tiptoe through this experience. I have to be 10 toes down. I gotta be in my books. I gotta be in these clinical settings. I gotta learn because people are relying on Dr. Dunn. You feel me? So the fear is important because it pushes you. You know what I mean? Like, it pushes you to hey, I gotta tighten up. I gotta do this. There are people relying on me. You know what I mean? And it's easy for me to say this now because I'm gonna have to say this to myself next year. Right? But like, that's what I want to encourage you in, is like, yes, there's gonna be that tightness. There's gonna be that feeling in your gut. There's gonna be this voice that tells you don't belong. There's gonna be all these things and all these responsibilities and all these stimuli coming from everywhere, but that's all there for a reason. You know what I mean? That's there to make you the type of doctor, the type of person, the type of husband, the type of friend, the type of uncle, so on and so forth that you need to be for this world, right? Like what you have to give to people. It's molding you. It's putting you through the furnace, right? Like you're gonna have to shed certain things. You're gonna have to give up certain things. You're gonna have to pick up new routines and skills. You know what I mean? But that's all gonna be for the benefit, not just for you, but for your life, everybody that touches you. And like, you know, whatever you've gone through to be the man that you are right now has been amazing, because you're a fantastic human being. And I mean, like, I adore you, and I really appreciate who you are, right? But like that refinement doesn't stop. That process doesn't stop, you know. So it's like, it sucks that you have to feel that way. It sucks that this experience and this, you know, this shift in what your reality will be makes you feel like that, but it's there for a reason. So if you can hold on to, hey man, in 4 years I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna be as good of a human being as I am right now. I'm gonna be transformed in a way that can help and bless, encourage, improve other people's lives. This feeling, if that's all I gotta experience, it's worth it. You know what I mean?
That's real. I like that. And it's kind of funny because as you're saying this, I go back to the seatbelt analogy I go back to the roller coaster analogy, and it's kind of where you were saying, like, there's a part of me that's telling me to move forward, and that's almost the seatbelt. Like, imagine if, like, you're going into these, like, most fearful moments of your life or the most wild moments of your life, and that thing just comes up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right? So it's like, but it's like that click. It's like in the beginning when, you know, either if you can't fit or whatever, like they don't allow you to come in. There's like so much restrictions. There's so many of these things that you have to go through before you can sit down on that roller coaster to take that ride. And so it's like that internal part of you has been constructed and created beautifully to hold you in place no matter what you're feeling when you're going up and down and around. And so I really appreciate you saying that, because I think that is something that I'm kind of taking away from this, is that, like, it's all there for a reason, and you just got to take that ride.
You gotta take it, you gotta take it. No, it's tough, man. It's tough, man. Like, I don't know where you're at, because your experience is different than mine at this very moment. So I can only imagine what you're contemplating and your thoughts and introspection and how they're just spinning and everything. But man, like, the outcome is gonna be worth it. You know, and I think that's just where I want to reinforce it. Like, it's gonna be worth it. You know what I mean? You take that first step, take the next step. Now you speed walk, and now you jog, and now you running through it. Then you're gonna look back like, wow, 4 years flew by. Oh wow, I'm an independent attending psychiatrist. Right? like I got nobody telling me what to do. Right. You know what I mean? Like, like the stuff that you're gonna learn about other people, the stuff you're gonna learn about yourself, how you're gonna be able to juxtapose those two things to be able to give the best clinical care to your patients, and how they're gonna be able to talk to you and feel comfortable with you, and be able to, like, be vulnerable so you can get to the heart of the matter, right? And trust you when you have a recommendation, when you put them on a plan, if you put them on a medication, when you give them whatever it is that they need, right? I think, especially in the field of psychiatry, like, you really have to be able to create an environment of trust with your patients, right? And it's like, you know, it's easy to tell somebody what to do, but when they really trust you, you know what I mean? Like, they can be committed to your plan, right? Like, you know, patient non-compliance is a big thing, right? And especially in psychiatry with people with severe mental health illness, like, it's like, you know, them not being compliant can lead to, like, very deleterious outcomes and unfortunate outcomes, right? So it's like, you being sensitive to that fact, like, this is for me to be able to connect with my patients and talk to them and allow them to know, like, I'm not just saying this, I actually have the best interest for you in mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's super important in this field. Is like, it's not just book knowledge. It's not this like, you know, you can do it. You're gonna go through it. And you're gonna learn all these medications and contraindications and whatever it is. But it's like, man, does my patient trust me to do what I tell them to do?
Right.
Right. Like I'm trying to create an infrastructure so they can live the healthiest version of their lives in the state that they're in.
Right.
Right. And they gotta know that I want the best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how's your body language? How you speak to them? How you hear what they're saying? Right. Like, are you just responding, or are you really listening to what people's experiences are? Because sometimes that's where the trust lies. It's just like, I feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
I trust you just because I feel like you heard me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know you have a great passion for psychiatry and mental health, and I have a great passion for it too. And the way I always look at it is just I have the privilege to help people get their lives back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great privilege.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, and I appreciate you, just sharing just that part about psychiatry and mental health, because one of the ways that I think I always I feel like I look at things in such like a completely different way, off the wall way, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like every patient has a part of you in them and vice versa, and like you can have the opportunity to, I guess, create and create, I guess, new possibility within them, if guiding them the right way, because and they have to also trust you to allow you to walk through their personality. I mean, their the way that they see the world, and their mental mental universe that they created within their life. Like, you are essentially and I think it's kind of beautiful, because you're essentially not even a co-pilot, but you're essentially like in the cockpit of someone's like subjective reality.
Yeah, no, that's a great analogy. I never thought of that, but that's a great way. No, for real, that's a great way to look.
So it's like, how do you make sure that the plane lands safely so that it can fly again and go somewhere else that it's never been, or how does it? I mean, and that's a lot of like, I think that requires not only a lot of like knowledge about people, but it always requires a lot of knowledge about yourself, right? And like understanding your own countertransference and like biases about yourself, because like you're the first patient, right? Like you're the first one that you have to understand. If you don't trust, if you can't trust yourself, then how's the patient going to trust that you have the right tools to be able to help them walk through their darkness? So I just appreciate you sharing that, and I think this is just like a beautiful transition to the idea of today's, or one of my favorite segments, my second favorite, but planting the seed, right? And then so we asked our guests to bring in a quote that embodies today's topic. So what is a quote that inspires you to stay determined even when life feels uncertain?
So I mean, I feel like the quote is going to kind of be redundant. It's going to just recycle, kind of what we're talking about, or what we talked about today.
Man, we like to spin it and flip it and change it. We're going to give a different perspective.
Okay, so determination isn't just willpower in motion. It's conviction made visible. It's the quiet clarity of purpose and vision that looks like grit to the outside world, but inside is simply alignment with something bigger. And I think it just like summarizes what we've been talking about, right? Like, in reflection, in hindsight, or if from a vantage point, it looks like determination is, like, I did this. I have grit, and I am, 10 toes down, as kids like to say.
They still say that?
Do they? Or maybe that's what we was kids. What they say?
I don't know. I'm not in these streets no more, man.
Bruh. I don't know, man. These YNs, I'm joking. I got love for the YNs. Me and the YNs be tight. Just don't come at me.
I ain't saying nothing, man. I plead the fifth.
But nah, man, it's there's more variables to it, man. We've talked about vision, we've talked about purpose, we've talked about conviction in what you believe, you talked about support, right? And it all looks like grit, and it all looks like toughness, and it all looks like, you know, you just put your head down and you go, but there's so many other variables. Everybody gets knocked on their behind. Mm-hmm. Every last one of us. There's not a single person doing something amazing, doing something mediocre, doing something that they shouldn't be doing. We've all been knocked on and behind, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just choices, right? And for some people, the choices are a little bit easier, right? It's because of the environment, and that's why I can't really take credit for anything that I've ever accomplished, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know my circumstances are different from somebody else's circumstances. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I didn't grow up in affluence and money, but I've had more resources than I can ever imagine because I have a family that is dedicated to me being who I'm supposed to be. Right. And that's just how I look at it. So I'll never be able to be, you will never hear me ever talk about just, you know, get up and do it, right, figure it out, and you know, and just keep on pushing. Because sometimes you push, but the force pushing against you is greater than you. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need other people. Right. You need a multiplied force to get over that hump. You know, so just how life has manifested for me, like I don't have the ability just to sit here and with a straight face and tell you it's all on you, because it's not. Well, at least I don't know about you. Right. I mean, you might be Kobe Bean, right? I mean, you got Mamba mentality. I don't. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed that God has put something in me, and I'm more blessed that other people are seeing that and are with me, pushing me towards that direction. Right. And you know, you could just be, you know, and like you said, you still have action, right? Because you have to respond to that, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you have to respond to the encouragement. You have to respond to the constructive criticism. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a choice that you have to respond to. You gotta, when you get knocked down, you have to respond to that force that knocked you down. Do I get back up again? Do I pivot? Do I go a different direction? Mm-hmm. Are you stubborn? And you're gonna say, no. This is what God really placed in my heart, right, you know. And I don't know why, but but there's something in me that says march, right, and keep on going forward, right? You have to respond to it, right? But you know, but there are other variables that go into it, and I from my vantage point, I pray and I hope that people are as blessed as me to be able to have these other variables that help them get to that place of success, right, or achievement or accomplishment, and then they can look back like, yeah, I'm just determined, gritty guy.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. And I'm glad that you kind of talked about the idea again of like family, and it's more than just us. Yeah. Because it's interesting because the podcast, the episode that came out before this one that was kind of made weeks ago was this idea of grit, and I brought up this idea of like grits, like, you know, like where it's almost, I wanted it to be this idea where it's like all encompassing, this idea of like breakfast, right? Or, you know, like everybody's idea of how to start the day is different. Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact of like that has bearing. It can have bearing on giving you the energy to get to your next meal, to get to the next meal. Some people are like, I don't need, you know, that foundation. I don't need that to start my day, and I can still get to it. Mm-hmm. A lot of us do need that energy to push us forward. And I think that's why it all, like, everybody's grit, everybody's inner, like what gets them started on the day is different. What pushes them forward is different. But I think we all have that within us. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people drive with a like. People are driven forward because of a lack thereof, yeah, not because they had, right? And so it's like, whatever your source is and whatever you have that pushes you forward, like, realize that there's something there, whether you understand it and you know it to be, you know, your parents, your friends, your family, yeah, or whether it's like, I grew up and I had nothing, like I had no one, I gotta get it, yeah, you know, but it's something there, and some people have. And it's like, I feel like, you know, I'm definitely privileged to be able to have the opportunity to have my parents there and growing me, but, you know, and I think that without them, without you, without people, like, you know, without my friends, like my other friend Lauren, and like I wouldn't be here where I am now.
Yeah.
And for some people, like I said, it just looks differently. And so I think that was just like, you know, beautifully put. And so I think, you know, this is just, you know, been a wonderful conversation as always.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to touch on anything before I wrap up to the one of my favorite segment,
part,
you know,
yeah.
the favorite segments.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you had anything else.
No, I don't really have
Okay.
anything else, honestly. Yeah, just I it's not. I don't. You know what? Let me just say.
Yeah.
It's just I pray that God gives people the vision,
Mm-hmm.
and people have the spiritual ears to hear what God is speaking to them,
Mm-hmm.
so they can have the purpose to do and the drive to be where they're supposed to be, right? Like that's just what I wish and I hope for people, right? Because this life is hard, you know. There's so many things that are, you know, that we're fighting in the natural sense and in a spiritual sense and in a mental sense, and people are going through so much, right? And there's so many questions that we go through life that are unanswered, right? But I think one of the great things about life is the opportunity to do and be something that is of importance to other people around us. And if you have that spiritual ear to hear God and to know, like, this is where I'm supposed to go, that is that sustaining force, right? That's gonna help you get there, right? And then hopefully you encounter a community, however that comes, because not everybody has, you know, a 2-parent household or has siblings or whatever, but whatever your community looks like, I pray like people have and encounter a community that also pushes them forward. So it's not really like anything for them to do. I just pray, like, you know, whatever season people are in, I pray like they hear that voice and they encounter that community, because life is hard and you need those things to keep on moving forward. You know? So.
That's amazing, man, and I appreciate that. And, you know, I feel like I really have nothing to add, and so again, man, I appreciate you, you know, coming through once more. And you know, we gotta end it how we do.
Hey, man, that's my favorite.
It's planting the seed. You know, we ask our guests to bring. Sorry, it's not planting the seed. I'm gonna scratch that out. This is one of my favorites. I was like, oh, you already did that. This is called To Harvest and Ripen. And, you know, here we'll pull a card from a game. We're not really strangers, not a sponsor, and answer it to harvest and ripen a deeper meaning of ourselves and each other. So I'll have you pull a card first, and then I'll pull next. So if it's red on both sides, you can just put that.
All right.
Is it red on both sides?
No.
Oh, okay. If you don't think it's good, then
I mean, I actually kind of. Well, let's just do it real quick. So, how are you really?
Have you gotten this one? Have I gotten this one before? Or not? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't think.
How am I really?
How are you really doing? Heart of hearts.
See, and this is something we was gonna talk about. This is not supposed to be on the podcast. I think it like kind of goes like we kind of briefly touched on it a little bit like while we've been talking this whole time. And I think like there's like a tension within me in this space in my life where I believe I should have everything that I wanted like 4 years ago. I have. I wanted a fiance. I wanted to be married. I wanted to like go down that romantic pathway, and I did that. Like I'm doing that currently. I wanted to graduate from medical school. I did that. Like I matched, at the place that I wanted to go. Yeah, and it feels like it's like not necessarily. I mean, I think there is like a what's next, which then brings about a lot of like anxiety and worry because it's like that space of like unknown. And it's like brings about like a restlessness. that like I try to find problems like within the things that are currently here. For example, like you know, like I'm doing psychiatry and I'm like, you know, what if I was able to do like I am psych or whatever? Why don't I like switch to I am psych or something? Because like, and like Bree put it like greatly, and she was like, are you just like, do you find yourself enjoying the like, are you excited by this idea of unknown? Because right now you're in a space of certainty and you're dysregulated, like you're not in a space, in a headspace that you are comfortable in. And the times where you are comfortable, it's when there is stress around you. And I was like, that's an interesting question, because in my mind I'm like, you might be right, you might be on to something. Like there has to be some kind of like external dysfunction, because then with that external dysfunction I know what I need to like face. I know what I need to get ahead of. I know what I need to figure out. When there's things that are just like set, I'm like, okay, like what am I here for then? Like if I've already done everything that I wanted to do. And so like I'm like, in my mind I'm like, okay, like maybe we need to start like considering like starting a family or something, like because I know every day that's gonna be uncertainty, right? Am I gonna get 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep? I don't know. I'm excited though. You know, like but it's like that then brings about, and she's like are you running away or running towards something? I don't know, like am I running away? Like I don't know, like I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right now, which is like an internal tension. It just feels like the wire is like tightening in my on the inside. And I feel like I know, like in like this ideal world, it's like only you can release only you can release the shackles of your own existence. But it's like in your mind, it's like there's so many other intricate parts to it. It's kind of like, you know, it's like those, and this is not like a political podcast, but it's like people who don't have like a background in medicine, like trying to say, well, why don't we just do this or do that? When you understand there's like so many pieces to it. You can't just like stop someone's medication because, you know, whatever. Like, and it's like, well, why not? Like, it's so intricate. And so right now it's just this internal, I think, tension that needs my attention, but there's really nothing I can do right now to relieve it that is positive or constructive. Constructive. So
you know, I mean, that's I appreciate you, like, you know, divulging that and whatnot, right? Like, I guess people always talk about like having peace in the storm. You know what I mean? You gotta find peace in the quiet,
right? And that's crazy, because it's like it's this thing I saw on Instagram years ago, and she was like, this woman rather, she said she was like she felt like she had to be a warrior in the storm, and it was like now that she's out of the storm, she can't figure out how to go back to being,
she's so wild,
right? And so it's like maybe that's like, medical school has changed me so much that I feel like I have to be like, I'm like, you know, it's kind of like
restlessness,
right? It's like you kind of like you come back from war, like as a war vet, which I can't only imagine what they're going through internally, but it's like you're feeling like I have to be on guard, like, and it's like that internal feeling of like something has to be wrong for something to be right. Instead of it just being right.
No, I think that's just, you know, I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's just like meditating and prayer and asking for peace in the situation, because I feel like this is always going to be a thing. Like, this is not going to like go away. Right. It's going to be another season where, you know, you're going to go through your season of turmoil and like you might feel more comfortable, but then there's going to be another season of peace. It's like, you know, just, you know, meditation and prayer and just finding peace in both situations. All right. You know?
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. And I appreciate you, you know, your insight always, man. I really do. And you know, we're going to talk more off air, but that's all I'm giving him. That's all I'm giving him. Oh, man. I don't know if I ever asked you this, but If you could have it your way, who would you be with? Where would you be? And what would you be doing?
Oh man, that's crazy. I'm like, I could give you the like raw,
I mean,
uncut,
or I can clip it if you want.
uncut, but and what I would be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Let me give it let me find another answer.
I'm gonna ask you off here.
It's PG. Like
Okay.
it's not like it's not. It's just it's a deep cut. You feel me? It's a deep cut. Who would I be with? I don't know. Is it one person or can I have?
It could be whoever. Yeah.
Man, so I just spent a lot of time with my nephew because my sister just had a baby, so she needed me to take care of her son so she can deliver her other son. And there was just so much peace with him, right? Because it didn't matter what we were doing, right? And then when you deal with kids, but he's 2.
Wow.
Right, like there's nothing like they find entertainment and pleasure in everything. But then when you spend enough time with them, for you to like connect with them, you also then have to like pretend or use your imagination and be like, this is really cool or fun or whatever. So it's just like I just love the experience of just being with them for this long, you know, and like we were having fun in nothingness, and it just reminds you of like what childhood used to be like, right? And then you ask yourself, when did life pivot when everything was transactional, like everything had to be purposeful? And I remember I was thinking in that moment, I was like, you know, when he'll go to sleep, I'm thinking to myself, like, we just had a full day of doing absolutely nothing. Jumping around, pretending like the floor is hot lava. You know, we're playing with, you know, Rumble the dog. And, you know, he's always so imaginative about what it is that we're doing. And then I have to get into character too. And then I was thinking about myself, and I realized that, like, I had become so transactional with my experience with the world. Like, if there wasn't a purpose, there wasn't a reason, there wasn't the ability to gain something, I would throw away that interaction, right? Like even if I got on the phone with, like, I'll get on the phone with somebody, and I'm like, so what is it? Like, what's up? So I'm like, essentially, like, why are you calling me? Right? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, when did I become that person?
Right.
You know? But I wouldn't have known it if I didn't spend, like, you know, this much time with him. It's just me and him, you know? Because nothing that we're doing is purposeful.
Right. And that brings up a point, right? Because in my mind, you said something that I thought was interesting. Like, you said, I got to get into character.
Yeah.
Is it a character that he's playing, or
no,
is it just him?
He's being him.
And that's
I'm the one.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, I wonder, is it like, where do we lose that sense of we have to be someone to get into this space, and we can't just exist in it? It's like, okay, I gotta be able to, but that's a beautiful thing that he's able to like pull us in, right? But like, I just wonder, like you asked the question, which is like, how did we get here?
When did I get here?
Right.
And you know, and then I'm reflecting, and I'm like, when did I get here? Then I'm starting to think about past relationships with, you know, friends and with significant others, and I'm just thinking about even a conversation with my mom. Like, I had to be more. I was now more conscious of it. So I remember me and my mom got on the phone, and usually when me and my mom talk, it's like 10-15 minutes max, right? And because Detonia had taught me so much in that short period of time, I didn't let the conversation end. So we ended up like they were like, I went on the phone for like 2 hours, and like 30-40 minutes of it is just us just hearing each other breathe, because we're not even saying anything. But I was so conscious of what Detonia had taught me, my nephew. I was like, it doesn't have to be purposeful, you know? And I'm like, what have I lost in, I don't know how long I've been this way, but let's just say that it's just been a decade. Let's just say, what have I lost in stories and reflection and learning about somebody else, and, you know, getting these like finite details about somebody else's life and experience that would allow me to understand them more deeply. Because everything had to be for a purpose and a reason, and it was transactional. And like, I'm thinking about my past like dating relationships. Like, what have I lost? Like, have I lost connection with people because it had to be for a reason? Like, when did I just like not? When did I become this person that couldn't just sit on the couch and just be like, oh, we're chilling, you know? So it was just it put me in a place of reflection. So I essentially, to answer the question, like, I would spend more time with my nieces and nephews, because it's like it forces you to, you know, be more childlike, right? You know, you don't want to be childish, right? But there is beauty, and there are gems of being more childlike in this experience. Like, at the end of the day, we're God's children. We should like the enthusiasm of life. You just see it in children, and then you see it just being smashed away with adulthood. And I just feel like my experience with him is like forcing me to push back on it. Life does not have to be devoid of enthusiasm and curiosity and spontaneity. We choose to do that, you know? So being with him is just a reminder, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. And I think it's crazy because you said we all like, and this is why I love talking, because we be here, right? And that this idea that we always have to do something, because I always think about that. Like, there were times where, you know, in situations where we're just chilling or hanging out, I was like, oh, I gotta go do something that is like, I gotta feel like I have to do something. And then that kind of becomes the default. And so maybe you just help me like figure out, like you have with a lot of our conversations, like how I need to be moving better in life. And so I just always appreciate, you know, us being able to kind of maybe do our own exercise in curiosity and exploration and wonder. And you know, even though this is, and I'm never gonna say like goodbye or whatever, because this is just the start of a transition to a new thing. But I really appreciate you taking this journey from season 1 to season 2 to season 3, all the way to season 6.
I love it, bro. I love it.
To another reality I think that we will experience in the future, because I don't believe this is going to be the absolute end. But just on hold, and I think that this is kind of beautiful, because this, even though this is the next episode that's coming out, this is the last episode of this podcast, and we did the first episode of the podcast. So we had to bring it full circle, man. And so I just appreciate you taking this journey.
Man, you've been a blessing to me.
Yeah, bro. Man, and always, man. And so, guys, I just thank you guys for continuing to tune in. And, you know, today's, you know, conversation, of course, brought us closer to the faces of determination, you know, from grit into purpose and patience and flexibility. We explored what determination is, and how it can carry us through when life gets blurry, and like what it truly actually is. It's not always these things that, you know, you can put on paper. It's the things you experience, I think, and that's kind of what matters. And so, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being a part of this journey. It's really been special. It's been amazing. And so, the most sustainable fruit isn't just the ones planted here. It's derived from conversations such as these. So don't be afraid to plant seeds of your own with those around you. You'll be surprised at what might sprout. Till next time.
Till next time.
Yeah, man.